Luke chapter 16, verses 8 and 9, you've got this really interesting story where Jesus commends this character for cheating his boss. You might read the story in Luke 16. The owner of this company, the Lord, the master, calls his accountant in, and he says, his steward, and he says, you've been cheating me. You're not going to be my steward anymore. And so the guy goes out, and you think, oh no, what can I do? So he goes around all the people that his master owes money to. He falsifies all the accounts, and then in the story it says the master commended him for his shrewdness. Now, the weird thing is, it looks like Jesus is giving the thumbs up to evil, to being a crook. And the comment comes, I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails, when unrighteous wealth fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. And you think, oh, well, it's all as clear as mud now, isn't it? It sounds like Jesus is commending something that is disreputable. Live this way. But when you separate the gift from the wrapping paper, or the cake from the decoration, you realise that the point's quite clear. It's the character in the story who's commending the crooked steward, not Jesus. And he commends him not because he's acting honourably or faithfully or gratefully, but because he acts shrewdly, because he considers the future and then deals with the present on the basis of the future. Okay, so he's just making one point, and the point is, this guy considered what's ahead of him and acted appropriately given his situation. All right, so one point. So you might, for example, admire Hitler's effect on Germany in the 30s, because there's no doubt he did some incredible things in the country in the 30s, so long as you lop off the war. But if you concentrate on the one thing, you could admire those policies. You might admire the dexterity of an acrobat without immediately saying, and also he's a brilliant cook. You know what I mean? So long as you concentrate on one thing, you forget everything else. And that's what Jesus is doing here. He fastens on one point. The guy had planned ahead, and Jesus says, go and do likewise. So what's he recommending that you plan for? Well, it's obvious. He's saying plan for eternity. You either plan for now or for eternity. Plan for what's going to happen to you in the future. So here's one who lives for now. He's a man of the world. He's a wide boy. He's a wheeler dealer. He sees what's coming, and what's coming is bankruptcy. And so he reaches and makes a deal to deal with that situation. And it takes his guts and his nerves and his abilities. And Jesus says, there you go. Even crooks know how to deal with a situation. Why don't you? You see, if now is all there is, then this guy is acting perfectly appropriately. But if now isn't all there is, then, well, you better think about the word where Jesus also said, you fool, this night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will be all the things that you have got? Who gets the BMW? Now then. So in contrast to worldly wisdom, Jesus shows the inconsistency of his own followers. The children of this world are wiser in their generation than children of light. That's an interesting phrase, isn't it? Children of light. Light and darkness. He's saying, choose your context of operation. If you're living in the light, that's one thing. If you're living in the darkness, that's another thing. But even the darkness people, they know what they're doing. Why don't you? And John referred, of course, to walking in the light. Jesus said, you're the light of the world. Eternity is light. So, here's the point. Why are you struggling to make a home in the darkness? We're being inconsistent. Why do you care about it? Why do you invest so much in this world? The children of the world believe that this world is of vast importance, and they're consistent in their belief. But we don't. If we say we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not do the truth. So if you hold high principles and live low principles, well, it's just plain daft. If you say all for Jesus, all my ambitions, hopes and plans, and then you don't live that way, you're being illogical, you're being inconsistent. It's not wise. So why was the steward wise? Because he knew he had a very limited time before he got busted, and in which to make his future secure. So he planned in that time. So what about us? We live as if we're going to be here forever. We marry, we get divorced, we have pension plans and schemes, bigger houses, and we make very little provision for an eternal future. How long have you got? So Jesus said, make friends for yourself by means of unrighteous mammon, the god of wealth, money. Make friends for yourself so that when that does fail, because it will fail, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. Now that sounds a bit complicated, but it's not. It's start where you are. If you can't manage these false riches, how can I trust you with true riches? Jesus said it again and again. Build up for yourselves treasure in heaven. Invest in the kingdom. Jesus was crystal clear. He said, sell everything you have, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. That's what he said. Oh my Lord. Get for yourself purses that don't get old, a treasure in the heavens that does not fade away. Lay up for yourself treasure in heaven where neither moth nor rust corrupt, where burglars don't break in and steal. Because you see, when you do something good in Christ's name, he said, a cup of cold water in my name, you will not lack your reward. Your eternal reward. He means it. This isn't salvation by works. This is kingdom living. This is radical humanity. This is living the Jesus way. Jesus shaped spirituality. Jesus was living the life of eternity and showing us how to do it and inviting us to share it. Or if you want to put it into a very, very human context, if you live in this generous, unselfish way, do you want my PIN number? It won't do you a lot of good. If you live in that generous way, that giving way, you see, wherever the steward went, he had made friends by use of unrighteous mammon. Now, your good actions become your good friends. Your kindness and generosity that you give becomes the things that come back to you, even in this world. I think nothing is eternal except those things that are done for God. I'm going to sing you a song in closing. I will cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I started too low, haven't I? I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. God bless.